welcome to Yesterday's Canada, podcast number 6, a podcast series to explain Canadian history from 1713 to 1800 AD. This is an 8-podcast series being posted on YouTube under the name Prehistoric Pixel. These podcasts will showcase major events, disputes, battles, and more. Stay tuned, episodes drop every Sunday. Our topic today is Canadian history from 1768 to 1778.
James Murray was followed by Guy Carleton as governor of Quebec. The Treaty of Fort Stanwix, signed in October of 1768 at Fort Stanwix, was a major treaty between representatives of the Iroquois and Great Britain, as well as negotiators from New Jersey, Virginia, and Pennsylvania.
What about the other 10 colonies?
Well, they did not decide to take part in this. The treaty, which was negotiated by Sir William Johnson, his deputy George Croghan, and Iroquois representatives, established a line of property that followed the Ohio River, gave the British Crown control over the Kentucky portion of the Virginia colony, and resolved all land disputes between the Iroquois and the Penn family, which also allowed American colonists to acquire land in Pennsylvania, a region known at the time as the New Purchase.
In 1769, after arriving in Tennessee, the American colonies began their westward push. Meanwhile, Nova Scotia's Prince Edward Island became its own colony. As well, in Illinois, Chief Pontiac of the Ottawa tribes was slain by Kashikaiki Indian. Samuel Hearne set off on his third exploration expedition in December. Later, in 1770, the Quebec city of Saint Eustache, something like that, was founded in July. The massacre at Bloody Falls took place on July 17th, when Chippewayan leader Manitomtene, acting as guides for Samuel Hearne on his Arctic overland voyage, massacred a bunch of gullible Inuit. Screw the Inuit, the Indians are better. An important turning point in the history of nautical exploration was reached when Captain James Cook finished his first circumnavigation. In an attempt to fill the void left by Acadian expulsion, Lieutenant Governor Michael Franklin of Nova Scotia journeyed to northern England in search of immigrants. Did he find any? Nope.
A 3-acre bank blocked the river in 1770 when a landslip in Quebec, brought on by subterranean water flow, buried a wagon, horses, a driver, a home, and a barn. Samuel Hearne made contributions to geographic knowledge by exploring the Coppermine River all the way to the Arctic Ocean.
Cumberland House on Saskatchewan River was established by the Hudson's Bay Company. European understanding of the northwest of America was widened by explorations of James Cook and George Vancouver, who Vancouver is named after. 62 passengers arrived on board the Duke of York, making start of the Yorkshire emigration.
The Revolutionary War had 2 primary campaign theaters, the 13 colonies and a third, smaller but strategically important theater west of the Appalachian Mountains. The fighting began in the North Theater and peaked between 1775 and 1778.
Rawr, fighting!
The American Patriots achieved several tactical victories in the South, sensing that the Americans may prevail. The French formally joined the American side in the war after the Americans soundly defeated the British Army at Saratoga in October of 1777.
Further skirmishes and battles resulted in important occasions like the Battle of Quebec on December 31st, where British soldiers defeated a Continental Army attack and prevented attempts to attract French-Canadian assistance. Tensions between colonies and Britain increased when Guy Carleton's Quebec Act, which preserved French civil law and guaranteed Roman Catholics freedom of religion, imposed British criminal law. As the American Revolutionary War grew more intense, there were important engagements, sieges, and diplomatic initiatives involving the colonies and Britain. In the meantime, the Pacific Northwest saw tremendous growth, with trade, exploration, and cross-cultural interactions influencing the area. The initial game of hockey was established, while textile manufacturing saw a revolution, thanks to inventions like the spinning mule. Does a mule spin, or does it spin mule? I don't know what that is. The course of colonial development and interactions with indigenous peoples was shaped by treaties established with these nations and the ensuing confrontations between American and British armies. While Francophone settlers and their Indian allies helped militia commanded by George Rogers Clark overrun western Quebec, in 1778, Washington prevented the British troops from leaving New York City. Later on, this area was renamed the Northwest Territory. There were American privateer incursions as well as confrontations in both Quebec and Nova Scotia. Tensions in Virginia increased after Governor Lord Dunmore issued a proclamation promising freedom to slaves who sided with the British.
British forces were routed at Great Bridge and Norfolk was destroyed by fire. After fighting in North and South Carolina, the Patriots gained the advantage. The Sac-Hopkins naval expedition to the Bahamas was authorized by Congress to address a gunpowder shortage. Congress approved a Sac-Hopkins naval mission to the Bahamas in order to address a gunpowder shortage.
Isn't that the same thing twice?
That is all for today's daily podcast. Make sure to subscribe to Prehistoric Pixel and stay alert for the next episode in the series. This is Yesterday's Canada,
Tuning out.